Afternoon, y'all. Um, there was a second assassination attempt on former President Trump today. This time, the assassin was much more organized. The Secret Service did find him before he shot at President Trump. However, what they described and what they show pictures of is called an assassin's kill box. The assassin hung um, ceramic plates. They're called ballistic plates. He had them in two different backpacks on each side of the fence with just a narrow spot in the middle to point his AK-47 through. And he has a scope on the AK-47, and Secret Service shot at him, but because of the ceramic plates, they were not able to injure him. He ran and got in his car, and a bystander took a picture of him running to his car and took a picture of his car and the plate number and gave that to the local police. And the local police picked him up. And his last name is Routh, Routh. He has donated to 19 different Democrat candidates in the last year. He's a Ukraine activist, and he is anti-Israel. So the local police had him. Uh, the the local state's attorney, um, Dave Annenberg, said on Megyn Kelly a few minutes ago that they were prepared to file charges first, and that the feds came in and demanded custody, and they relinquished. What the hell is wrong with these people? The FBI in Butler whitewashed all the evidence. They went up there on top of the roof with a power washer and power washed the entire roof. They also immediately cremated Crook's body. And when the local DA went to get the quote evidence from the body, they were handed a box full of ashes and told good luck. Now, that same FBI is now in control of the Florida incident when the Florida prosecutor, well, I call him prosecutor, but he's a local state's attorney, Dave Annenberg, relinquished his control, told the feds, we'll take a back seat. You can file your charges first. And now what will happen is nothing will get done. He will be charged, but they will whitewash the charges. They will do just like they did in Butler and try and sweep it under the friggin' rug. This is beyond disgraceful. And then to add insult to injury, this morning, Kamala Harris at a rally said Donald Trump is the biggest existential threat to America since the Civil War. He must be eliminated. That was her words. A half hour later, POS Dan Goldman parroted the same thing, saying that we cannot allow him to be president. He must be eliminated. And then when Melania comes on and says she has questions about why the police knew about the Butler shooter for an hour beforehand and did not arrest him and allowed him to take shots at her husband, that she had questions. And Don Lemon said she was a disgrace. So what the hell is wrong with these people? There's really something wrong with them. Do they wish something bad to happen to Donald Trump? Are they that corrupt that they wish their political enemies to be unalived? This is disgraceful. What has happened to our Democrat Party? I have Democrats in my family. They don't act like this. They don't think that the answer to um, defeating Donald Trump is eliminating him. They say, let's beat him at the ballot box. This is scary that we have a main political figure in Kamala Harris calling for the elimination of her political opponent. And after the incident, she says, well, we're just glad he's okay. Made no comment about trying to change the rhetoric or anything. And then disgraceful NBC and ABC blamed Donald Trump for being shot at, that it was, quote, his fault. No, it's not his fault. It's the person who tried to pull the friggin' trigger. It's that person's fault. We need to wake the hell up. We are a country that's getting ready to jump off a cliff, it sounds like. This is disgraceful, the way these Democrat politicians act. And then if that was one of them, oh my goodness, it would be nonstop, daylight to dawn, daylight to dusk, rather, on how the Republicans did this and it's their fault and blah, 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 blah. And they don't want to recognize that they're the ones stoking the fire. They're the ones calling Trump America's Hitler. That's just disgraceful. That's racist to call someone Hitler. Hitler was an anti-Semite. I should say it's anti-Semitic too, because Hitler was an anti-Semite. It was Hitler's position that all Jews should be eliminated from the face of the earth. Let that sink in for a minute. Donald Trump has not ever said anything like that, ever. The Dems try to say that what he said in Charlottesville was equivalent, but they cut off the beginning of the statement where he says white supremacists and white nationalists should be condemned. They cut off that part. They don't want you to hear that part. They just want you to hear him say, and I'm sure there's good people on both sides, because he said white nationalists and white supremacists should be condemned. I'm not in favor of them at all. And then said, I'm sure, though, that in both crowds, there are good and bad people on both sides. They cut out the part where he says that he's against white supremacists because they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know what he stands for. So they cut it out as if he didn't say it, as if we can't go look up the videotape and see what he actually said, which I encourage my subscribers to look at what he actually said and not go blindly by what the mainstream media tells you, because most of the mainstream media are owned by Democrats. ABC is owned by Disney. NBC is owned by a Democrat. CBS is liberal, which means they're Democrat. So those three are anti-conservative and anti-Republican, and they will just flat tell you things like when RFK Jr. made his speech about endorsing Trump. He had a good speech. He had a 45-minute speech about the health of our country's children. And he endorsed Trump in the last 5 to 10 minutes. At the beginning of the speech, after 2 minutes, CNN said, well, there's nothing to see here. He's just going to endorse Trump. You don't need to see what he has to say. And that speech was full of facts and figures, and talked about how the Democrat Party had aligned against him because he was running for president, how that they sued him in 9 of the states that he was running for president in to get his name removed from the ballot. We don't do this kind of stuff. This is not America. This is communist kind of stuff. The Marxist communists, they control who you can vote for, what you can do, what you can say, and all of that. And I think that we just need to wake up, because also another thing that Kamala said was that when Elon Musk bought X and said that people in this country deserve the right to speak their mind freely and have free speech, Kamala said, we cannot allow him to do that. We cannot allow him to let people speak their mind. We must take that away from him. That is a scary thought. Think about her being president and her feeling like you don't have the right to speak out, because she said, and it's on videotape, we must take that away from him when he was talking about letting people on Twitter speak their mind and have free speech. That is just something else. So that's what I have for y'all today. We'll get back with the YSL trial tomorrow, and I have updates coming on the Moscow murders. So we'll see you then.